Nick, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And you guys can... Really?
Wow.
Coming out of a big truck.
I was
like
trying
that.
to come up with a smart-ass comment. I just
Coming out of
didn't
a big
have-
truck like
it
that.
wasn't there. Like, it was so far gone. I was like,
really?
wow.
Like a teenager song.
So, back to all seriousness, no fun allowed. So, you guys can call me whatever you need to. It's fine. I know my tickets and all that stuff says Nicholas, but Nick is fine. So, let's kind of go through this. First thing we're going to be using is thermal imaging. So you guys should be able to see me in there, orange, red, and yellow guy.
Yep.
So, sorry, Don, but that means I'm the hottest thing inside the video. Now, bridal parties, that works out great, just so you guys know. But we're literally going to be looking for what? What do you think?
Like heat, like something.
Not heat.
Not
No,
heat.
so-
Cold spots.
Oh.
Right, we're literally looking for cold spots.
Okay.
So this is a FLIR Pro 1. What does that mean to you? This is what firemen use to actually save people. So firemen will actually carry one of these little doodad attachments in their pocket, throw it on their phone, and that way they can help people out. We're looking for those blue and black spots to either take shape or move on their own. So again, we're going to be recording this most of the night. We're going to do a few starts and stops because as great as the hardware is, the software sucks. If we record for too long, we lose the footage. I don't want to do that. So as we go throughout the night, I'll be saying, let's make a few stops. There's a blue dot bouncing around the screen. I set it up that way on purpose. It gives us the coldest spot in the frame at that particular moment. So that's kind of helping direct our eye to where that cold spot might actually be. However, when I'm looking at this, I don't watch the blue dot because I watch literally hundreds of hours of this footage. I can actually see where the blue and the black is taking mold of certain shapes and whatnot in the background, even though the blue dot isn't, is showing us the coldest spot, but what I'm looking at isn't needed to be the coldest spot. Just a few weeks ago, I had an 8-year-old girl using this camera, and she caught a full-body apparition, like walking across one of the lots that we were passing through. So amazing footage. I was super stoked, and the blue dot only fell on that figure one time, and it was right on the face. So something where it shouldn't have been, because our skin temperature is obviously going to be the warmest thing out here.
Yeah.
So again, we try to keep a person in view at all times. So Don, you're going to hold this horizontal all night long. Again, I'll give you the starts and stops for it, and even when I have you restart it, I want you to start it again, the same way with the camera on the left. That's the wire side, and then that orange square is what's going to stop it. It'll turn to a circle. I'll show you more about that's
yeah.
So it's already recording. I do that on purpose so that way everybody knows. Yeah, the camera's in the lower left-hand side, just so you know.
Right by my finger.
Yep.
Okay.
Now you got it. So with that, where was I? Oh, so yeah, just try to keep it horizontal all night. I'll show you more about that, as we kind of move along. And then let's get into the next device. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. There's lots of stuff in here. Let's see. Spirit boxes. We're going to be using 2 different types of spirit boxes tonight. So the first spirit box, and keep in mind, I have 6 of them, but I want to make sure we have a nice range of tools out. So we're only going to be using 2 of them. So spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead, right? So what they do is they sweep through FM radio stations at a quick rate. That's usually just white noise. And then your TV host will tell you what he thinks he heard in the middle of the screen kind of thing. These are set up a little bit differently because you guys aren't trained to listen to white noise plus, long time ago history all night long for 2 hours. You'll probably fall asleep. So this is set up to be a little bit slower. So the radio chatter will come through. I want it to come through. The song lyrics, the DJs, the commercials. So whatever you hear out of the song lyrics, the commercials, and that kind of whatever voices, it's a 50-50 shot that we can tie it to the location of where we are, a person in history we're talking about, or even something going on with one of you. It happens all the time. Now the person using this is going to be wearing an earbud, so that way they're going to be the only ones to hear it in real time. It is recording the entire session, so I will be able to add it to your data tomorrow morning so everybody can hear it. I will spot check it, give you about 15 to 20 other markers on top of me writing down whatever the other person hears in real time. So is anybody here between the 3 ladies uncomfortable with wearing an earbud? Something in your ear to be able to hear it? All right, perfect. Some people are uncomfortable with that, that's why I asked. So I will go ahead and plug in the earbuds so that way we can get it set up for, you wanted to go all in, you're going all in. Let's do this. This is, I don't want to say it's like the most difficult job out here, but if you don't hear anything all night long, it's perfectly fine. It's recording. And you can mess with the volume all night long. It's perfectly fine. It's not going to mess with recording because it goes at a nice even level. It's the reason why we have it. So it is a beautiful, this is one of my favorite devices because when I investigate a place, I just throw it in my pocket on mute and I listen to it later and see what happens. I actually have 2 of these. One goes super fast, one goes super slow. So that way I can kind of get a little bit of a range from them. So as soon as I get this twist tie off of here for you.
I need some sage.
Right.
And we're cleansing.
There are already things inside my bag to keep us safe.
There you
No
go.
worries.
Okay. Oh, I'm not worried about it. I have sage at home.
That's why
It's
when I say
like-
when people have concerns, like that's one of the first things, is someone going to be following me home or any of those things. Most people, will have one earbud in only, so that way you can listen to me and turn the volume up and down at your leisure.
Probably
Now,
not hit
I'll
my
hand
phone.
those to you. Your volume button is right here at the top. It's a wheel. You'll have the wheel for it. Yeah. So there's a volume button. It's not the button, it's the wheel. So go ahead and play with the wheel and get comfortable with that. The second spirit box, this one works a lot differently. We don't have to listen to it. It's actually going to give us words from time to time in the center of the screen. So just like an ovulus, like what you guys see on television. I don't know if do you guys watch the paranormal TV shows?
Yeah.
You speak in a different language?
I actually do not.
Okay. So an ovulus will basically give us, it has over 2,000 words in it, and it will just spit out random words based on whatever the spirits are using to be able to spit out those words. Now this one in particular has over 9,000 terms in it versus the 2,000 that you see on television. So it's the reason why I use it. However, it's going to save all of those words to a list. 80% of what comes out of the list is bullshit. It doesn't mean anything. It's the other 5 to 20% that I'll be able to tie to the location, a person, or something going on with one of us. So I'm going to clear out last night's tour. They had 86 terms. That's been about the average lately, anywhere between 70 to 90. So they actually did pretty well. Their list was a little weak, I won't lie. So nothing really matched up. I only had one phrase match up with that particular spirit box. But you won't need to show me every single word that pops up, Kelly. Just when I come to you, you'll hit the little white square next to it, and you'll be able to scroll through the words as we kind of go through it.
cool. Okay.
Now, if you start showing me every single word or shouting out every word, we're going to be here till 4 in the morning.
Right. Okay, so don't do that.
Yeah, you don't need to do that.
Unless I see something creepy.
Yeah, unless something you already know that's going to be specifically relevant to where we are.
Okay. Makes sense.
And I can hear static, so
Yeah.
I'll hear that like the whole time. Okay.
Yep.
Somebody starts talking.
Right? It says your name, you're in trouble.
You just wear that. Not put it away. You already have one.
I did.
So you are my multitasker.
Oh no.
Oh, thank
It'll be
goodness
fine.
I got this.
You'll be fine. Trust me. Nice and easy. So this is what we call a millimeter. So you guys have seen the K2 meters on TV with the little blinky lights. This one actually is in digital format. So anything above 2.5 on the big numbers, I want to know what's going on. So this will measure any kind of electrical current. So that's coming from cell phones, buildings, wires, anything like that. And I'll even debunk a few places ahead of time for you, like, hey, that's from a parking meter. That kind of thing. So 2.5 and higher, the reason why is because that's the second green dot on the blinky light, the one they use on TV. So I have them measured, so that way I use one of those too. So it normally goes to the little guys of the tour, so that way they have some blinky lights to keep them occupied. But 2.5 and higher.
Okay.
Certain spaces I'll say, okay, you got up to 8, now give me everything above 8. So that way I'm not writing down 1,000 different numbers to put in your analysis. The bottom number is ambient temperature. It's going to measure the temperature based on the yellow probe right here.
Okay.
If Don finds something on his camera, you and I can debunk it or prove it pretty quickly.
Okay.
So the last thing that it has is it's called a REM pod, or motion sensor. So if something gets close to the antenna, it will go off. The closer it gets to you, the
Yeah.
higher it's going to go. I'm going to show you more about that at the first stop, so just kind of hang on to any questions you have. I'm going to turn it off for now because I use this guy as kind of a call and answer because there's different colors that are in those lights, and I like to see if the ghost will actually go to a specific color. Like I'll ask for a color and see if I get it. So
This is like a real
That's,
advanced form of my ghost meter.
that's awesome.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you got the.
Oh,
Exactly.
that's awesome.
So
Just hold it like this.
That's it. Just let me know when the numbers go up.
Okay.
And I'll show you more about the REM pod first stop.
Okay.
So I told you it's a little bit more
Yeah, I'm
advanced.
kind of geeking out.
Yeah. And there's more in the bag. That's the sad thing.
Oh, boy.
Kinda geeking out.
Like I have, what else is in there? So I'm using a full spectrum camera now, and I use laser lights with it to detect motion in the camera.
Yeah.
There's more spirit boxes. I just got the new SB11 ANC spirit box. I love that guy. That's really cool. So that takes out the static that you're hearing. It just doesn't record. That's why we're not using it tonight. And it has been 75% accurate.
No
so
shit.
far. Yes.
That's awesome.
Love it.
That's awesome.
But anyway, there's more gear in the bag, so if we need to geek out and pull some more stuff
Yeah.
out, we will.
All right.
All right, so let's talk about why we started here, and you guys are going to have me talking all night long, so I'm going to be guzzling water. And she's like, yeah, you are. You better be talking.
Guzzle. Let's go.
So, Big John's behind me. This is why I asked you to start here. So this used to be called Big John's Tavern, believe it or not. This is a renovation. They just renamed it that after the original. It was owned by Big John Kennedy. He was a football player for the 1947 New York Giants. This was his bar. He used to sit in the back. and used to tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. And one night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. Big John has the bartender throw them out, and they leave pretty pissed off. They come back the next night, and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John gets up after putting down his beer on the bar tab, and he goes over and just beats the hell out of these 2 guys. Just pounds them right into the floor. A couple of gunshots go off. John gets hit in the neck, and the bullet lands in the wall behind him. John gets up after being shot. He's the only one that's been shot, by the way. Goes back to the bartender and tells him to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor in an ambulance. What's the irony of the story? Nobody died in that story. What's haunting the place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. Even if it's not after the renovations that we now know is Big John's, John's blood is still in this building. People that sit in the front of this bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or thin. And it usually comes from my guests telling me that's because they just ate there for dinner because I told them to meet me here for their tour. Now, with that being said, this is your heated warning. If anybody feels any of those symptoms at any point in time, I need to know immediately. It is a very, very, very big deal, so that way we can move the whole group and get that person to safety. I've designed this tour to be very non-malevolent type spirits. Nobody's getting scratched or pushed or anything like that. But at the same token, I don't know how it's going to influence you. So fingers crossed, we're going to be dealing with paranormal activity. Hopefully nobody gets sick. So let's talk about something else other than our own health, right?
Yes.
Normally when I have moms on a tour, they start getting a little worried. Now, with that said, we had a big earthquake here in 1886. If you didn't know that from any other tour in town, because we all talk about it, you now know. This is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The white mantle you see in the middle of the building also wraps around the front on the east bay side. A piece of that fell off from the earthquake, hit somebody in the back of the head, and killed him. And they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. Now, I say apparently and allegedly a lot with that because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue so the people on my tour aren't thinking about getting sick while they're on their tour with me. So, are you all ready to go ghost hunting?
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to go up this way. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Do this.
Love the excitement. Can you imagine doing this for a living, man?
I can't. I can't. So you're gonna give me a card when you're done here, right?
Oh, yeah.
So can I find your books on that too? You know, I mean, do you have a website or whatever?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's where your data goes. So it all goes to the website, which is where my books are, the blog, the podcast, everything that I do.
Oh, cool.
So it's all there. And it's super easy to remember. It's just storiesinthecemetery.com. We made it nice and easy. 2.5. All right, head on over this way. So this is a quick stop. I want you guys to think of your entire time with me as kind of a ghost hunting 101. So this is an easy spot. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. This is your first level, and it's going to be very easy. It's just normally when I have my groups of 10, it allows me to work with each person individually and show them more tactics with their devices. So this is the big red barn lot where we keep the horses for the carriage rides. They can hear us because there's no glass in those windows. So when there's lasers involved, and that's also why we use headphones with the spirit boxes now, because they don't have white noise. So with that said, the only history here is a one-liner. It's really easy. It's just a great example so I can teach you guys more about the spirit boxes. This is the same red barn that held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. That's it. 1860s and 1920s. So let's talk about those 2 spirit boxes. Everybody wants to start off with, is somebody here? If somebody says no, that means somebody's here. So we are not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long. You guys want paranormal proof? It's not from yes and no answers. It's just not the way it works. At least not for me. I'm not convinced with a yes or a no. So, in a space like this, I would normally say ask a question that you already know the answer to. Like if somebody's here, what color is the big red barn? Right? So obviously we're looking and listening for the color red. However, you're using radio stations to convey messages back to us. The color red might not be in the vocabulary of that DJ or songwriter, but she might hear fire truck, blood, heart. Those 3 things are specifically red. So that would make sense to me. What color is the big red barn? Blood. I'm good with that. However, most of the night, I'm going to require 2 pieces of something going on to be able to verify what's actually happening. For example, Kelly, let's say you have the word art on your word list, and you hear the number 4. I'm using 2 of these because you're only 2 spirit boxes. Individually, those 2 terms don't mean anything to me, right? But Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. We're still close to Big John's. Does that make sense to everybody? I have to put everything together. So most of the night, like, we're going to be talking 17 and 1800s. A lot of those people had the same names. Lots of Charleses and Georges, Elizas, those kind of things. So I need to know who the hell we're talking to. That's why I always look for a secondary clue. A lot of times tonight, I will withhold information on purpose so that way you have a genuine experience. But I might say, that's a great start. Let's see if something else pops up along with that. You know, kind of wait for it. And that could even be a reading from your EMF meter, which is your big numbers. So, Don, just first and foremost, I guess with the camera, people do not like their cars being filmed, and they don't like to be filmed themselves. So if I say act casual, you're simply holding a cell phone just like you are right now.
Okay.
I already seen your YouTube in that truck over there. So I was like, oh damn, I better throw that in there. Let's see. I think that covers about how we're going to use the spirit boxes. Again, I'm going to continue with the REM pod, but I wanted to go over the camera thing first.
Sure.
I think we already talked about, like, we're going to be the warmest thing out here. So you're going to try to keep a person in view, meaning one of us,
Okay.
not other people. And that's going to give us that array of color, so it's a lot easier to see the darker spots moving around.
So if I was looking over that way, I'd want to be like here.
You got it, just because there's somebody in view.
Okay.
And that's actually how I was able to capture that apparition a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Now, the other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out of view. The reason why is because that blue dot is going to default to the sky because there's no surface. It's looking for one, even though it's the coldest area in the frame. So it's going to, I know some of these spaces it's going to be like almost impossible to do that, but just try your best.
Okay.
Again, it's only for everybody else's sake. I normally just look for the bluer areas and what's moving around kind of thing,
Okay.
and seeing that, but a lot of people like to follow that blue dot. So just try to keep the sky out and a person in, at least a person from us.
Okay. Gotcha.
Any readings from your EMF detector?
No, I mean, it went up to 0.3 once.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Nothing.
That's
what I
natural.
think. Yeah.
So any terms come up out of yours before we move on?
My daughter, meat and monkey.
Meat, M-E-E-T or M-E-A-T?
M-E-A-T. Meat.
Yeah, like Indiana Jones monkey meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Monkey
Tastes like
brain.
chicken.
Very specify.
Specify. What kind of meat?
Exactly.
It's a
Well,
monkey brain.
I did, not for nothing, I did just ask you to specify what kind of meat.
Right.
This is true. But again, a little vague until it was something specific. Now, if it said Don specify, I would be a little bit more like, oh shit, yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
All right, I say we go deep dive into history other than football players and ponies. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do it.
All right.
Yeah. We have no stories to go on because we just got here.
So I can
today,
lie to you
so-
all night long?
You could.
Again, the first 15, 20 minutes of this is all training. That's why it takes 2 hours to do this. Just because, I mean, we're not just getting started with stories right away. I gotta train you on what the hell you're looking at.
I gotta keep a person in
Yes,
view.
I was going to say, you
Yeah.
get ahead of the crowd.
Getting ahead of the crowd, that's right.
Do that.
It's tough though because like I want to look there, but damn it, you're in the way.
How long have you been doing this?
3 years, those times about 10. There's a little bit of experience. But I've been writing about it for over 20.
Oh, nice. Are you from here?
Originally from Ohio.
We're from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I did do that.
Okay.
What part of PA?
Altoona. Near Penn State University.
Okay. My wife is
Okay.
so, all right, so come on in, guys. So this is a weird space. What do you got now?
Graveyard.
Graveyard. Like 2 words. That's a term. Well, I haven't seen that specifically. You have to remember, I've been using that thing for like 6 years now. So every once in a while I get surprised. Like last night we had a term that came up that I didn't even know what the meaning of it was. And my guest actually had to explain it to me. And then I heard the same term in the Red Spirit box when I was going through. Like, it was weird.
What was it?
Well, she has the word graveyard right now, and I don't think I've ever seen it set up that way.
Yeah.
But the term last night was the term Sally's, which means to burst forward. And then I heard the name Sally show up on the Red Spirit box around the same time when I was going through the spot check. Because your words are giving me timestamps, so that kind of gives me a gist of like where we
gotcha.
are,
Yeah.
you know, so forth throughout the night. So, welcome to another beautiful site of Charleston. This is a parking lot. If you guys don't know where to park by the time I'm done with you, I don't know how to help you. So, this space used to be something. This used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion. So, first off, 2 spirit box feet, folks. I am not going to be giving you terms like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. You're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes, but I will reveal answers before we leave the space so nobody's left hanging. So, Eliza's mansion was sat in the front of this, facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant over there and came all the way across, basically to about where we're standing now, just behind you guys. And then the servant and slave quarters were in the back of the space, just so everybody kind of knows what the layout of the land is. Now, who the heck were these people? They had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 Charleses, because remember, Eliza's husband was named Charles as well. So now you can see why I always need a secondary clue. But the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a pretty big deal to us, but you guys are on vacation, and I hate politics. So let's move on. Eliza. She married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So when you're asking her how old she was when she got married, it's not going to be like 12, just so you know. The reason I bring this up is because Charles was over double her age when they got married. So that's a pretty big age gap between the two of them. Now, she married him because her father over in England thought he was dying, and he wanted to see all of his children one last time. She didn't think he was dying. They put. This is 1744. There's no such thing as marrying for a green card or citizenship, because we're not even a country. So, with that said, Dad got better, which means Eliza was right. And Dad started sending her gifts over from England to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. That's what you're wearing right now. That's how we use it today. So, we already had indigo here, but she didn't know what to do with it. So she learned from her slaves on how to keep it going. It's obviously not warm here all the time. So once she experimented with it here, she moved it to a plantation just north of here in Mount Pleasant, calls her dad and says, rice plantations are going to hell. We can make a killing with this indigo. Can you give me some contacts? Now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. Something absolutely unheard of. So that's Eliza's business. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why Dawn's here. So Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back. Really smart or really stupid, depending on how you look at it. So, ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. If you want to know which Eliza we're dealing with, ask her maiden name. Hopefully we'll get it. As far as the mansion, it's not here anymore. You can ask what happened to it, and then what year did that tragedy happen? Yes, it was a tragedy. So, Eliza's children, I told you there was at least one named Charles, correct? Signer of the Constitution. However, there are more kids. You can ask how many and what their names were, and that's about it. The reason I say that is because if we start poking the bear, there's a tragedy among those kids that she doesn't want to talk about. All activity will stop, including any readings that you will hopefully have here very, very soon. Normally we have at least a 3 by now in this space, so we'll kind of see what happens. And there's been nights I've come in here and have gotten nothing. So, but I've also seen some of the highest spikes I've ever seen on that device from this space. But anyway, just names and how many, and like I said, just let it lie. As far as Eliza's death, that's where she's open. So you can ask her how old she was when she died, where she buried, what did she die from, and what U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Like, these are all non-yes or no questions, in case you haven't noticed. Also remember that I am here 6 to 7 nights a week. She knows what questions we're going to ask. If you go rogue, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure it's something we can prove and that it's not a yes or no question. So again, if you ask your own questions, it's perfectly fine. You can do that. It's your tour. Have fun with it. But again, just make sure it's something that we can prove, so that way we can actually count it as evidence. If you're going to go anything towards the slaves, like back in that area, I can't prove any of it. So there's no record of them. I don't have their names. I don't have how many. I don't have any of that information. It's pretty much off the books. So try to stick to Eliza, her children, and her husband, and obviously what happened to the mansion, and we'll see what actually happened. Have you heard anything at all, or have you had the volume down?
When we first started, I thought I heard somebody say stop it, but that was it.
Okay, so when we first started, where? In here or at the very beginning?
At the very beginning, when we started walking out right before we went into the parking lot.
Okay, and it's still something we heard, so I'm still going to write it down, just because it was heard. And that's, the fact that you heard something is...
I mean, it could have been in a song, but
it doesn't matter. So even if you heard drop it like it's hot, you know what I mean? I want the word hot out of that. It could mean a fire. That could mean some kind of heat damage, something on the thermal imaging camera. It could mean any of those things. So no matter how silly you think it might be, let me know what you're hearing.
So don't ask her about the tragedy.
Definitely not.
Oh.
Of the child.
Oh, of the child.
Of the child. You can ask her about the tragedy of the mansion.
Okay.
About the tragedy of the child.
Okay.
All right, so we are going to spread out a little bit in here, kind of see what's going on. We should basically all be looking to you to see where your hotspots are, but you guys are going to need to wander around a little bit. So definitely turn. Oh, we got to talk about your REM plan first. So again, if you guys want to just start making small laps, asking some questions together, and the cool thing is that his is recording audio too. So that way we can at least, if something does come through, it's another point of EVP for us.
Okay.
So again, I'm going to...
Yes.
Yeah, I got it right.
Come here.
So I'm going to work with Brenda for a few
Okay.
minutes just to show her more about this round.
Okay, why don't you walk
All right, so first and foremost,
straight out that way?
I'm really surprised we haven't got that.
Cal, come here.
Huh?
Come here. What is that?
To the tree right there? Oh, in front of the tree?
It's that,
Oh, that metal thing?
yeah, that metal thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ask questions?
Huh?
You gonna ask them questions?
Yeah, what were the questions I was allowed to ask again?
Well, I was asking her what happened to our mansion.
What was her name again?
Eliza?
Eliza, what happened to your mansion? Eliza, who was the American president that was your pallbearer?
All right. Any crazy words coming up on there?
It's been pulsed for a while.
Okay. Go ahead and hit the little scroll. There you go. Let's take a look at that full list.
This is all from it, so it doesn't show all. I definitely saw these.
Yeah. This is everything we got tonight since we started.
I missed a couple. It's two I saw.
What's that? Second one down there? Socks. Yes and no. Very vague.
Eliza, how many children did you have?
I asked her the name, but it seemed like she said Anderson. Anderson. I asked her her name.
Why do you stay here?
What flowers did you plant? See anything?
There was something when we first came in. It'll never be substantiated, but there was something when we first came in. Walking on the other side of the street over here,
Yeah.
he was talking. I had Nick in the foreground, And on the other side of the street, I thought it wasn't blue. It was like translucent. It was like, no, it wasn't blue. It wasn't.
You might
It was
see
kind
it.
of. It was kind of like the outline of somebody, just kind of walking down the street. And I kept checking to see if they would work. You know, if there was nobody there.
Buy a Kia today. Like, I'm going to eliminate buy a Kia today just because it's, you know, very common. We have another version of Diamonds Direct. So, we discussed the Pirates here, and Diamonds Direct always comes up with a anything crazy gone?
No, nothing, and it would be nothing substantiated. When we first came in, though, I had you in the foreground over there,
Okay.
and in the background was this street, and it wasn't blue; it was translucent, but it was a definite shape moving down the street on that side of the street
Okay.
in the distance. And I kept looking to see if a person would work their way out, but nobody did. But again, we have nothing to. But just that was
Until, I mean, this is why I talk to you guys all
Yeah.
night long, because you're the one operating it.
yeah.
And that's, I mean, we obviously recorded it, so I'll
Yeah.
be able to check it in the morning.
Yeah, it was just, and it wasn't blue, it wasn't red, it wasn't
Doesn't-
yellow. It was just
Kind of a figure.
kind of opaque, just kind of translucent.
We'll see what
just
happens.
But I kept looking to see if it was. I couldn't. There was nobody there. It was just a shape that was moving across the screen.
Interesting.
Yeah. Thought I had something over there.
Because sometimes you're going to, like, there are white outlines on there to help you differentiate the shapes, because that's not looking in 3D, it's looking in 2D.
Right.
The white lines are to help us look at it in a 3D
Yeah,
format.
but this was moving
It's still weird.
down the street. I mean, it was walking right along the buildings, right down the street.
Okay. And what's nice is I actually put it on YouTube, so you guys can watch it however you want to.
Cool.
And half the time, if it's something cool like that, like I'm watching it on the big screen.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know necessarily that it was something or it wasn't, but it just something that stood out at me.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
nobody got anything else on any of theirs, or nothing that jumped out. But just, you know, you'll see it when we first walk in.
Take a look at it when it comes up. Kelly, anything on your list?
Very.
She's had a pretty high EMF. Light would definitely not have been a thing in the 1700s.
Right.
But I like manner. I mean,
So like when these start to go a little crazy up there, what is that?
it's all part of the aesthetic of the app. Like, usually you'll notice as these start to turn red or grow at the top, like you'll get another word coming through. Because it is going to generate a word from time to time. The app is meant to scare us. So that's why I usually throw 80% of it away. But at the same token, this thing growls and makes noises because of the scary horror movie shit that, you know, I don't need on the tour. All I want is all I need is that database for my tour. So again, the fact that it's just grabbing words out of it, it's up to us to decipher what's good. It's just easy to throw away easy stuff like flight when we're talking about 1700s. So,
Ugly.
Ugly. Actually, the word before that was find her. So I said, Eliza, who do you want me to find? And it said ugly.
You should tell Nick that. Hey, Nick.
What do you got?
So right before it said ugly, it said find her. And I asked her who she wanted me to find. And it said ugly.
Well, I wouldn't think that anybody from her family would be considered ugly, nor would she call anybody in her
Right.
family ugly.
The finder's
The
interesting.
finder was weird because it was like the. Oh, moldy. Yeah.
We did get a really high EMF so
Yeah, I
far.
heard you. Yeah.
38.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it.
So
Where was that? Where'd you get that?
she actually had that right like up in that corner up there when she was just standing still. She's like, it came up real fast and then it just went away.
So finder, I was over by the gate right there. Oh, it's in front of it. And the it was red and it was all crazy. Yeah, when they walked back up there, yeah.
See what you get up there. Keep an eye on her with the camera.
Eliza, who do you want us to find? Eliza, who is ugly?
I say we're not getting a whole lot where I'm like, oh my god, check all this out. So let's head back over to the wall and I'll get you guys. You can capture video at this point if you want.
Hit the square?
Yep.
Finger.
I turned record back on, by the way.
Who?
Yellow.
Reset it. It just seems like she approach and stops.
Right.
That's why I'm staying put. Whoever's here, please give us what your name is for one of the boxes we're using. Most of you know how to use them. Anything else? Alright, let's
Round 1.3.
okay. Yeah, let's all come back to the wall again. So
It
that was
sounds
exciting.
like somebody spelled Y-O-U-T-H.
But those things are so giant. Like normally they're like this big, chunky, wiggly. Like they're giant. My wife got me one for Christmas, and I'm like, I can't take this
That's
on the
me.
tour.
Oh.
I'm like, I can't
Turn
take this
your
thing on the
phone
tour.
It's like 15.
So I found a guy in the UK that's actually making me one nice and compact with
Yep.
handles on it for you guys. It's costing me an arm and a leg, but again, my tickets are expensive for a reason.
Yep.
So it's one of those, like, I can't wait to get this, and I'm waiting on parts. I've been waiting, like, what is
Oh,
this?
yeah.
I mean, what month are we in now? I mean, I've been waiting since Christmas.
No
So,
doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a while.
Your tickets are expensive?
Yes.
What were the tickets?
What's that?
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think that was
Right.
Yeah, for tours around here, most guys are going to charge between like 25 and 35.
Oh.
But they don't have the gizmos and gadgets the way I do.
Right.
And they're only going to be out there for 90 minutes with you. So, again, I don't pay attention to time. I'm just like, whenever we're done with a space, we move on.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
all right, let's talk about why we're here a little bit further. I know I kind of gave you that gist of Benjamin and John already, but when we crossed that last crosswalk, going like where Cumberland Street was, that was where the original. Why I like to come here, because first off, tourists don't like to come here. I mean, if they do, it's very seldom. We don't see too many of them very often. But that list of names, again, Benjamin and John, those are pretty big names. Every once in a while, a third name will pop up. That name is Jane. So when I say people lived here, maybe 5 to 6 at a time. So when I get Benjamin and John, that's 2 out of 5 people from 1801. Not coincidental when it's every 6 to 7 weeks. I'm not surprised we have been so far. Hopefully John is coming through on another device somewhere, even through one of the regular pieces of audio. You never know. And again, I have nothing significant about 1801. It's just a matter of like what we're dealing with. So you're standing on Belgian blocks. So you guys all watch the TV shows or at least heard the term limestone in some way, shape, or form. Limestone is said to kind of stir up some activity. Belgian blocks are actually made out of pure granite. So these pure granite bricks are straight from the earth, just like limestone. They say when a stone that is straight from the earth is in the same place for so long, it actually is part of the stone tape theory. So it's basically hanging on to the consciousness of the memories that occurred here. So the fact that I get those same names over and over again, it's the only explanation I have. Again, pure granite that we're standing on. Now, they did do an archaeological dig underneath these bricks. They did find some of the tools and silverware and the clothing from these people that lived here. They classified them as lower class. It makes complete sense because across the street, just like I was telling Don, they actually found some of the wall on the other side. The other part of the Charlestown wall was going down the opposite side of East Bay Street. Yeah, right next to a hotel that happens.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's not a ghost. not a partying
Would you
ghost.
stop?
So,
I'm turning her off.
so the smell of low tide would be coming through here quite often. But those buildings down at the end wouldn't have been there. The rich people in Charleston are not going to put up with the smell of low tide. So if you've been down to the Battery already, which some of you may haven't because you just got here, but those houses, the houses are skinny, right? And they go long back. There's 2 reasons for that. So first and foremost, you were taxed based on how much street side you took. So if you're skinny in the front, less taxes. I just brought you from the Pinckney Mansion site. It went broad against the street. They didn't care. First off, they're politicians and they have no money. The second reason is they're outside the city walls. They'll still pay the taxes. They don't care. It was bragging rights to be able to show off their beautiful home. The other reason those houses are skinny is because they have the piazzas with the front doors, which was to help with the smell of low tide from coming into the house. You're supposed to open up the second story window. The cool air from the water will come in, and the cool air drops to air condition the house as heat rises. So again, it was kind of a way of air conditioning when they were there. Now, I know some of those houses down there are giant, but that's basically how they kind of kept it cool and the smell of low tide out. Man, that is really strong. I won't get this out of here pretty quickly. So,
I don't think anybody's.
now before people lived here, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here, hence the name Lodge Alley. So, I do get terms like Freemason, Mason, Illuminati has shown up here several times, and yes, who the hell is talking about the Illuminati on the radio? I have no idea, but I only get it when I'm in this space. So again, it just showed up again here a few nights last week, the week before, so I was kind of surprised. It was one of those, all right, we're going to hear it again this year. I had 4 or 5 instances last year, and I chuckle every time, because again, conspiracy theories, I'm a ghost hunter. Like, I don't need conspiracy theories. So, but again, very interesting space. I love bringing you guys here because it kind of gives us the layout of the land as we kind of get through the rest of the night. Now, where we're going next is another alley, but I can't take you through it like this one because I've been booted out. You guys joined the Annoying group with all the gizmos, gadgets, blinky lights, and noisemakers. It's considered residential at the end, and I was in the wrong when I got booted out, but I will tell you why later on once we get there, because it'll make a whole lot more sense of why I take you to the places that I do after that, instead of me taking you all the way through the alley. I still tell the story, because I'll be honest, last night was really light in activity, but when I reviewed the data this morning, it was all wrapped around that specific alley. I had like 5 or 6 pieces that were direct terms, names, numbers, like it all matched up, and you can't deny it when it comes up that way. So that's why I still tell the story, because it still kind of stirs up the activity. But this ghost here, I know nothing other than his name and what his occupation was, and the year that he lived here. Again, it's just a very interesting space, not to mention you're in Charleston. You need to see some kind of cobblestone. And there's not many along the route that we can actually
said
go
my
to.
name.
Did it? Did it spell it properly?
Yes.
Did you bring somebody with you?
Interesting.
What do you mean?
Like, Did you recently have a family member pass?
His mom.
My mother.
Your mom?
My mom. Yeah.
In December.
Okay. It happens.
Yeah.
Normally when I have vets on the tour, like veterans, like it doesn't matter what story I tell. If they lost somebody overseas, forget it. Everything coming through is based on their friend that they lost. So sometimes it's a waste if I start telling regular historical things because their Desert Storm buddies coming through the whole night. It happens all the time. Now they're looking
Maybe
for other
audio
times that might be
problem, I don't
relatable to
know.
them.
I had a recent death too.
Okay. Any?
My fiance died in January.
Oh wow.
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 What was their name?
Lonnie.
Okay. Okay. Just so I have it, in case something pops up somewhere.
Okay.
Not that I'll be searching for it, but if it pops up. Last night, a young lady was her son passed away. His name was Ryan. A few years back, but something popped up that was specific, like what she used to call him.
Oh, okay.
And I said if I find the name Ryan in my spot check, then I find it. I'm not going to search for it. Again, if something pops up in real time where you find something, by all means, that's personal to you. So, all right, I say we move on to the next alley. Once we exit here, just so you know, we will cut off your video because we're cutting through a neighborhood.
Okay.
So, but it looks like you got us some pretty good, straightforward footage, which is what I like to see in here. Just because unless
Yep.
instead of just directed at me, there's no point because I'm not the ghost.
Would I need the green thing?
Yep. Get my screen flags over here. If you get anything, it should be on the red screen. Not to mention this quiet area.
There's something here. What is your name?
Allowed to go to 20 people. That is a tour group that's going up the street right now, and that looks like a max capacity. Again, I don't go to 20. It's just ridiculous. So when I say, basically be casual with it, it's because those other tour groups, they're always asking you guys, what the hell's they got you doing now? I don't have a whole lot of friends in this industry. So,
When we rented it,
were you in Philadelphia?
we walked this way.
Yeah. So during the daytime, you can go all the way up and down it. Now, here's the weird thing here's why I got kicked out of here. Let me start off with that.
Oh, this is where we took all the pictures. Flags.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this is Philadelphia Alley. It used to be called Duelers Alley. This is where the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. Now, I'm going to give you the dueling story that we all give, but I'll tell you why I got kicked out of it first. It might make more sense. So first off, this alley didn't always come all the way through, so that means the bricks on the other side are older. So those bricks are sun-dried bricks from slave children, and there's a full handprint, a child handprint, and fingerprints in some of those bricks at the end. Now, my group, when I was taking them all the way through it, everybody wants to put an EMF meter or a spirit box near it. I treat it the same way I do a grave. That kid's not staring at that brick in the afterlife. So it's outside a gentleman's dining room window. Yes, I got caught. That was November 26, 2020. The date is relevant. The next day was Thanksgiving. November 28th, I get a phone call from the tourism office that says I'm only allowed to go halfway like the other tours or to reroute my entire group. So I'm like, all right, I'm the newbie on the block, whatever, I'll move. So it's not fair for 10 people to try to investigate when there's 2 tours down there, meaning 40 people, and we're trying to investigate. So it's still safe for us to come out here. So I decided I'm going to come here and then reroute to go up there to talk about pirates. Now, I'm a vampire guy. I didn't want to talk about pirates. So the first night I go up there, November 28th, I tell my team we're going to wing it because I don't know a whole lot about this story, but here's who we're looking for. So somebody heard the number 300 on a spirit box. I have no idea what it means. And somebody else heard the name Anne. I'm discussing Anne Bonny. So I'm like, okay, maybe subliminal messaging. They heard the name Anne, but no. Anne was on the spirit box, and the number 300 was also there. We were there on November 28th, 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th, 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her trial. So I cannot make up that karma said, get the hell out of the alley and go talk about pirates. I've read more books about pirates since that day because I didn't even believe that story. I'm like, really? Pirate up there? That doesn't make any sense. Once I started doing more research, lo and behold, I got evidence. It's a weird spot, and we'll talk about it once we get there. But let's talk about the dueling story. There was a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island.
All right, this said physician earlier. While you were talking.
Show them the list. Show them the list.
What did it say?
Physician.
Oh.
I cannot make this stuff up. Wow. See? List is getting better. It's good. So, doctor moves here. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Now, Amanda's name showed up on your word list twice in the same area last night, just so you know. But anyway, Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents, and she has an attorney helping her out with all of his cash. The attorney thinks that the doctor's just after Amanda's money, so he tells her to get rid of the doctor. The doctor, to prove that he's not after her cash, moves to Charleston, so that way he can start making his own money. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. Wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston, but somebody walking by seeing he was about to be robbed and killed. His name was Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop there because Ralph's name has the same initials as where the doctor came from. You're ghost hunting. Ghost stories, that doesn't mean anything. But when you hear the letters R.I., Ralph Isaacs, Rhode Island, come up all the time, you need that secondary clue so you know who it belongs to. But it's not an ironic twist, but it does happen. But anyway, Ralph says, dude, you don't want to stay here. He's got a gunman inside. He's going to try to kill you. He's like, but I got some friends at 59 Church Street where you can rent a room and you'll be safe. So the doctor takes him up on the offer, and Dr. Ladd and Ralph become friends. Now, the doctor's practice is taking off. He's making a lot of money at this point, and that means Amanda's moving down soon. So he becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Every haunted city you will ever visit will have a whistler. I promise. Ours just happens to be a doctor. Now, Ralph and the doctor go see plays together, but because the doctor makes more money, he gets better seats. So they can't sit next to each other. They talk about these plays on the way home. One night they go see William III from Shakespeare. The doctor thought the new actress was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing, gets pretty heated when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée back home in Rhode Island. They go their separate ways. Ralph is from here. He has friends at the newspaper. He puts an ad in a paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Not a very smart move because the doctor sees the ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this, meaning somebody's probably going to die. So they come down, they take their 20 paces, they turn, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to make a point and have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight. But Ralph has his one shot, and he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. So the doctor doesn't die either, but Ralph makes his point. He's still pissed. The doctor is picked up by his friends, and he's carried home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later, after refusing medical treatment. He's a doctor. He probably tried to heal himself by bleeding it out. So, they say as you walk through the alley, you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. Now, when I used to take my groups down there, it was spirit boxes off because we didn't have the earbuds then, and it was about listening to the regular audio. Now, keep in mind, if you're going to go down there with your regular voice recorders on your phones, which I encourage you to, keep in mind anybody that lives here, we all know the story. So anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side is going to throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night on my way back to my garage. We end up there, my garage is right there. So I throw a whistle every single night. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's going to be faint and it will be in the background. They also say you can hear gunshots down there, but I don't have any proof of that. I do have some whistles that I can't debunk. Here's a funny thing. Just last week I had 2 instances on your spirit box where whistling showed up on the radio. So the word, or the song Patience by Guns N' Roses, with the whistling in it, showed up while we were here. And what's that Maroon 5 song with the whistling in it? That showed up like 2 nights later. So I don't know the name of it, but I recognized the band. So it was a matter of like, you gotta be kidding me. So 2 nights, it was like 2-3 nights apart, but that's also the kind of thing that actually occurs here quite often. We do get a lot of whistling. It's not something I'm looking for. Again, I'm just listening and writing stuff down. If it's relevant, it's relevant. I look at the timestamp and say, oh, we're at Philadelphia Alley at that time. So
this is Philadelphia Alley.
It used to be called Dueler's Alley.
Well, it's funny because this was like my favorite thing today.
So we have to walk down there.
Now, the reason why I have Dawn filming is because, I mean, things can come across there. Do I have anything significant from a thermal imaging camera? I have some things I can't explain, but when we used to walk through there. But I still like to get the footage from a distance like this, just to see those cold spots moving across, because he's being nice and still. It's nice and easy to see. Now, there are reports of orbs down there, which is what the other camera's used for, along with those laser motion lights. So the IR lighting, when that's running, there's some orbs that'll show up from time to time, especially if you're walking through it. Every once in a while, one of my guests will say, "Do you mind if I walk all the way through it?" I'm like, "Just go halfway and come back. We're going to be going around the corner. Meet us, around the corner." So that way I'm not being blamed for going all the way through the alley. So
you can do it during the day, but not at night. Or no, you're not supposed to go through there during the day.
It's after 6 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Like, we have very strict restrictions on where we're allowed to go. Like, even starting up as far up as we do at Big John's and Pinckney Mansion. Like, I go up there because the other tours won't go there, because they like to stay down here. Like, we're getting into the very popular spot. So, in the corner we're going to, have you heard any other words, by the way, besides position?
Not that I've related yet.
Okay. The word, I will tell you.
Trader.
She's got housing.
59 Church Street, I was just going to say, is also known as the Thomas Rose House. So the word Rose will show up here from time to time, too. So, again, very interesting. Oh, man, I had Thomas here just last night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we thought it was Eliza and Thomas being related to Charles over there.
What?
5.
I mean 5.
5.
He was shot in the leg.
5,
Shot
yeah.
in the leg.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, I got that earlier when we were walking up.
It does say directly kneecap in the stories, but we'll take thigh. Like,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
before we got here.
I
Right,
also
so it
get
says
parts
Liza.
of guns that will show up here too. I don't know jack shit about guns. So if something pops up, like I did hear spring loaded the other night, so I was like, that's definitely got to be something with the flintlocks that were used.
Yeah.
So I looked that up, gave them a picture of a flintlock. Yeah, it's got a spring loaded whatever on there.
Yeah.
One night we actually got the term brass pan. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that means. Like, I was like, that just seems like a weird phrase.
Yeah.
Because it came up individually, brass and pan,
Yeah.
next to each other. So I was like, I looked up brass pan. One of the platelets on there.
Flash in the pan.
No,
Flash in the pan.
But is that where it comes from?
So in a flintlock, you have a pan that has powder in it.
Yeah.
The flint ignites the flash in the pan, and that flash carries down to the breech and fires the weapon.
could they? Well, the descriptions I found said that they could have been made of brass.
Yeah, probably.
So brass pan.
Yeah, could have been. Yeah.
But I like your explanation better. I like
Yeah.
where
So
stuff like that comes
It probably would have been made of brass.
from. Yeah.
It
Because
probably.
those are the things that I found, and
Yeah.
I was stoked about that night.
What are the other options that it could have possibly been made out of, right? In anything in that world,
Yeah.
nothing is going to stand up to that other than brass, right?
Yeah, true.
Tin would not
No,
have, right?
definitely not.
Copper would not have.
No, because you can't take
It would have been brass that it was made out of.
Interesting. All right. So, any crazy readings while we've been standing here?
No, nothing.
So,
Like, it went up to 2, but nothing.
a couple of months ago, I had a young lady claim that it went all the way into the 90s while we were standing here, and
Oh.
I kind of I've never seen that over in this space before, so I've been asking everybody every single night ever since then. So, you can go ahead and kill your video. We're going to walk around the next corner, so Spirit Boxes, let me know what you guys. Coming down around to get to the cemetery behind me, St. Philip's, you would use the shortcut to get over to the cemetery, so that way they could go celebrate the winter quicker. So I call it the Death Gate. Not many people know why that gate is actually there. If you know the reason, like how the construction was of that particular alley, again, it wasn't all the way through. There was a wall down at the end, so you couldn't even see it from Cumberland Street. It was a private lot. So, yeah, have a seat. Have we got any terms?
Mary, $3,000. Rice.
You heard. This location, it's a hit or miss. We're either going to have a lot going on or we're not going to have anything going on. Anne Bonny is said to be seen all over town, and the reason why we're here is because that building right over there with the crosses on it, that little tiny building. So that's the Gunpowder Magazine. First off, those are not crosses. In the event, they're called earthquake bolts. So if we have another earthquake like what we did in 1886, they're on turnbuckles. You can basically turn them, and it's supposed to straighten the building back up to, from the damage of the earthquake. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work. The reason I bring this up is because those are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston put in, because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina, finished in 1713. So, we talked about the Charlestown walls earlier. There's a reason I brought that up so early in the tour, because where that parking garage is now, that's where the wall stood. It went up past the powder magazine and started going south behind me to keep the powder magazine locked into the corners of the walls. It's 3 blocks away from the water. It's kind of helping keeping it protected from any Revolutionary warships or pirate ships. So if it does get attacked, the cannonballs from the ships are going to have a hard time getting through the 32-inch thick walls to get to the gunpowder to blow it up. But let's say it does, and it goes all the way through. There's sand underneath those red shingles that you see that's supposed to go up in the air with the explosion and fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. The sand is still there because sand does not disintegrate. It's never been attacked. Now that's another great idea, but that doesn't work either. We had another powder magazine closer to the battery where it did get attacked because it's much closer to the water. Sand went up, the building burned to the ground, no longer exists. So this one did serve in 7 different wars. There's that number again, the number 7. But the Civil War was its last servant. It's a museum now, and if you're into artillery and old war uniforms, that's what's inside. They have a great bookstore, so I actually had a season pass because they get books before Amazon of our local books, so that's why I knew so much about this place. So we're here because this building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? Not at all. So 1703 to 1713, but our story begins in 1708. We're here because it's what I call a familiar. It's like using a toy to try to attract a child ghost. It's the same type of principle. We don't have many buildings this old in South Carolina, let alone Charleston. There is one building that's a little bit older than this, but it's not on official records. So that's why I told you this is the oldest government building. It's not the actual oldest building. So 1708, follow me, there's a lot of twists on this one. Sometimes I actually speak really quick to kind of keep it moving. 1708, a young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormack. She moves here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Are you guys with me so far? Okay, you got that done?
Got it.
The mistress is her mother.
Oh, her mother.
The 3 of them are running away from his wife. Okay, I say that one slowly because sometimes people trip up on it if I say it too quickly. So, first off, how pissed off is that wife? Just saying. But anyway, they have to leave by boat. They land in Georgetown, just north of here. So, Dad buys a plantation, and Mom dies pretty quickly, which means he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to be able to sell anything from the plantation, keep things going. This is why they work here. The building is the same time frame. So, back home in Ireland, Anne was kind of a badass. They say she killed one of her servants when she was 7 or 9 years old with a knife to the belly. Like, she's 7 or 9 years old. Like, try to put that in the back of your brains. So, we're going to fast forward. Building's done in 1715, pirates are coming from town. Anne is stoked. She's going to fall in love pretty quickly. This guy's name is James Bonney. What do we got? You got it?
Got it.
James Bonney. Dad does not approve because he's a filthy pirate. This is the guy she falls in love with. So, they run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonney, the most famous female pirate of the Golden Age. Her career started right here. Now, when she gets down here, this is not the swashbuckling, rum-drinking Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for. This is basically, he's a coward. He's a privateer. He's a spy for the British. This is not who she thought she married. A few years later, she falls in love again. We're on guy number 2. I'll keep track. That's what it is. So guy number 2, his name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. We're going to call him Jack through the rest of the story to keep everybody straight. Jack has his own ship and wants to be part of it. You can't put a girl on the crew. Girls curse pirate ships. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and hide your gender, you can be a female in my quarters and be part of the crew. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, I'm a pirate, let's go. We're all adults here. Being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. So he leaves her with some friends, she has the baby, returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to this kid. She's also dressed like a female. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender. This makes Jack mad. Jack just captured a pirate crew and they're down below deck. Anne's gonna go flirting, because that's what Anne does. Guy number 3. Guy number 3 turned out to be a female, just like a guy, to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females doing the exact same thing on the same ship. What's her name? Mary Reed. We had the name Mary as soon as we turned the corner, just so you guys know. So Mary, she convinces Mary to become part of the crew. The 2 become friends, possibly lovers. We don't know for certain. And the British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet of ships to take out one pirate ship. Anne and Mary are the only 2 not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks to actually be able to fight back. Obviously, they're going to get taken trying to take down an entire fleet of ships. As they're being arrested, Anne looks at Jack, captain. She says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." So the word dog is obviously a key word here. Now the judge, his name is Nicholas Laws. I told you about Nicholas Trott across the street. This is another Chief Justice. His name is Nicholas Laws. He wants to see the two men that fought back by themselves after he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken sailors that wouldn't come up and fight. So Anne and Mary go in front of the judge, tell them, like, reveal their gender, like trying to save themselves. He doesn't care. They're still female. They're still pirates. He's still going to hang them. "We plead our bellies," was the last thing they said, meaning they are both claiming to be pregnant. You cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail. Delays the hanging. Dad is still here in Charleston with his Irish money. He bails out Anne, brings her back home, remarries, husband number 2, guy number 4. Yes, we're going to count Mary Read because we don't know. Has 4 children and dies at the age of 84. Now, that's all we know after her pirate career. As far as Mary Read goes, she died a year later in 1721 from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. We don't know if either of their pregnancies were true, so kind of take that for what it's worth. That's the craziness of all the research I found. Yes.
Wow.
So, again, we're here because it's familiar. I left 2 things out here on purpose. I told you we're going to be leveling up as we kind of go throughout the night. You guys all know how to use your devices by now. We don't get a lot of EMF, so you're definitely going to be using your REM pod here. But the 2 questions I left out for the spirit boxes, the name of Anne Bonny's parents, that would be the father and the mistress, and the name of Calico Jack's ship. So you can find those things out for certain if you'd like. As far as getting footage of the front of the powder magazine, by all means do so. Like, that means you would exit the lot and make a left to go up to the front gates. Just don't interrupt the other tours is the only thing I ask. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, I told you at the beginning, people have passed out on my tours, right? And this is one of those instances where it's actually relevant to the story. So back in September of last year, I brought my group back here, about 8 or 9 people, and the kid next to me goes white as a ghost, pun intended. So he starts to drop like a wet noodle. I pick him up by the armpit, and we take him over to that brick wall, which is where we're going to end, by the way. I send his boyfriend over across the street to the vending machine to get him a bottle of water. He's feeling better. I then tell the story. It's important to know when I told it. I send everybody out to go play with their devices, and they pull me aside. We have to tell you something. What do you got? We are 2 transgender males, meaning I had 2 females dressed as men on my tour,
No
just
shit.
like Anne and Mary.
Oh, wow.
No shit.
So they were perfectly fine with me retelling the story pretty much every night of the week because now they are a part of the story. Now, take that for what it's worth. I will tell you that the LGBTQ community, it's so weird to say with the Q at the end of that, they love this story because they take out the Anne and Mary piece because, again, we're talking like 1719 to 1720. Of when, you know, lesbianism would have been a thing, you know, and they just run with it. They don't really grasp the whole story. So it's just one of those pieces that when you look into this from a gay perspective, like, that's what you get out of it. They don't tell you the whole story, man.
They lose all the context.
But I won't say all of them. That's bad to say. But that particular couple that night, like, they were enthralled to hear about the entire story because they had heard of these 2 young ladies before, but they didn't know the whole gist of the story. Now, Anne Bonny are all kinds of stories. And they're in a video game I'm playing right now. I do that on purpose because it's a different version, you know, but I've probably read 15 different pirate books, including all the original books that were written about pirates back in the 1800s. I've read a lot of damn pirates. So, ask whatever you want to here. If you want to use the 2 questions I gave you, by all means do so. We'll know probably within the next 5 minutes if Anne and Mary are here. If not, we'll wrap this party up and we'll send you guys home.
So reading all the pirate books, why did you say you were a vampire guy?
Ever since I was a kid, I was into vampires, and pirates now remind me of my ex-wife. So when I had to learn about pirates, it was like, damn it. So even now, because my ex-wife was all about pirates, all about it. And the sad thing is that she was all about the Hollywood pirates. She didn't know all of the history behind it, nor did I.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, I'm not going to deal with pirates. I've always been an interview with a vampire kind of person, you know, and that kind of mentality. So now that I've read all the damn books, yes, pirates got some really cool lore behind them. And the fact that, oh, by the way, that hole I told you about, that tunnel, there was a rumor that Blackbeard actually buried some of his treasure there, but we all know that that's bullshit, that treasure was in North Carolina, not South Carolina, because that's where Mr. Teach was murdered. He was beheaded in North Carolina. I forgot. You guys are all Northerners. You probably don't know,
No.
all the pirate lore.
The only I know about Calico Jack is it's a rock.
There you go.
Calico Jack was named that because of the jackets he wore.
Oh,
They came from the men he killed, so they were rich men.
Oh.
So they were dirty jackets, but they were expensive jackets. So that's why he's called Calico Jack.
Okay.
All right, let's get closer to this powder magazine. Don wants to get some footage of the front, it looks like. they're hanging out on the wall.
What was the question? The name of the boat?
And the name of her parents.
Who's Anne?
Yeah.
What was the name of Anne's parents?
Mm-hmm.
Anne. What's the name of your parents?
Are you resetting that?
Who are your parents?
I just should be resetting it with every move that you do.
I just heard Captain Louie and Jack.
Katie.
Why? I heard Captain Jack. No, I heard Captain Louie and then I heard the name Jack.
So again, I don't know if I explained this, but your spirit box is slowed down. If you ask what color the big red barn is during holiday time, you might get Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I don't need Rudolph the Nosed Reindeer. I just need red. So right now, I'm going to take the word Captain, take out Louie, and put Jack in there. We have Captain Jack. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Jake Jackson.
Any ratings on the red screen?
Just minor. I just heard the Sherman. And what was the name of your parents?
So, Don, your camera in this location has acted up quite a bit. It'll give me like white lines going down the screen, and then whatever those white lines go over, that person, their device stops working. I've seen that twice now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen it flicker. And it
Right.
hasn't flickered all night.
Hasn't flickered all night for me.
Becky's getting the hang of that thing. She's
What do you
having-
need to know, doctor?
she's still getting frames, like terms around Philadelphia Alley. She heard attorney across the street. Ralph, the doctor's friend, was an attorney. So that shows up all the time too. But I always withhold that information to see if it's actually going to pop up. But the fact that she just heard doctor again, along with physician.
Is there any name associated here? De Gaulle,
Nothing I know of.
When we were sitting on the fence over there,
Yeah.
I kept hearing that whispered in my ear. So just so you know, look, I'm just going to tell you,
Dynasty?
but what's like a knife of the night, and you're not going to see me again for the rest of your life. So if you think I'm batshit crazy, you can. I'm an empath. I've been seeing ghosts my whole life.
Okay.
I get residuals off of items. The first residual that I recall is touching. My mother collected antiques.
Okay.
I touched an antique sewing machine in her house, and I get a visual of an old woman with her hair in a bun looking at me going like this. Right? That's like the first one I can remember. I've seen ghosts my whole life. When I was a kid, I didn't know what they were. It was only when I got older that I started to understand what they were.
Sure.
And a lot of them are auditory. When I first met Kelly and was living with her, I was living in her house for a few weeks. She was in bed one night. I was turning off the lights and whatnot and peeking out the window out into my new neighborhood. And I heard Kathleen in my ear.
Okay.
So the next morning I asked her mother, who lived in the same house. We lived in a third floor apartment. Her mother lived in the first floor apartment. I said, "Who's Kathleen?" Her mother went, "White as a ghost." The house was haunted by their Aunt Kathleen. My wife comes from a broken family, and Kathleen was on the other side of the family that didn't disown her mother and the girls. So, I mean, I get a lot of auditory stuff. But when I was sitting over there, I kept on hearing de go, something along those lines. And I kept on getting like I kept on saying like a G-A-U-X. So I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
Yeah, but I kept hearing it like 3-4 times.
I can look up to see who's buried over there.
Yeah, just my right ear. I just kept hearing.
And the reason why, when you said like with objects, and I got like
Yeah.
Monday, I actually have indigo seeds coming in to use as a trigger object
Yeah.
at the Pinckney Mansion site. They're hard to come by. Like I've been waiting like a month and a half, and the website finally got them in. So
Cool.
I ordered them, and I was like, "Damn it! I wish they were here tonight." And it's
Yeah.
just a little tiny vial. Like it's only this big, but it's like strapped to a card.
Yeah.
But I figure it's going to be easy enough to put, into, my bag to be able
Yeah.
to hand to somebody.
Sure.
Like yourself.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
be able to say, use this as kind of a trigger.
A lot of the stuff that I've seen over the course of my life is not old. It's new stuff. Some of it's pretty good. Some of it's pretty fucked up and
Have you seen
freaky.
anything tonight?
No, hearing to go, I got that. And today, if you walk into the front lobby of the Saint and you go to the bar in the Saint, up above on the front portion of the building, there are tables
Okay.
along that veranda wall there, along that balcony wall up there. And I didn't realize it, but that whole wall is a mirror. So when you walk in, you look at that mirror, you're actually seeing the tables reversed.
Okay.
And when I walked in this morning, I looked up there and I said, "I'd like to get a table overlooking maybe the courtyard up on the balcony." I looked up, my wife and I walked through, and I said, "They're all taken." And I kept moving. When we got our coffee, 2 minutes later, I turned around, walked up the stairs. There are no tables there. They're over here, and they were all empty. And there's only one way down the stairs.
And nobody came down.
But I saw like 6 couples up there sitting at tables.
I'd have to dive into the maps and see what was there.
Yeah, it was just weird. I mean, one guy very much stood out as kind of like he was a dark-skinned guy in a very southern summer style suit.
Yeah.
Modern. You know what I mean?
Just you're probably in the wrong city with that kind of ability.
Yeah. Maybe.
All right,
I don't know.
ladies, let's rein it in. Come tell me what you've got. See how you guys paid me to go to work?
Right?
Sheep. Bless you.
That's you.
Reading. What's Mary's last name?
Oh,
What'd you get?
well,
Reading.
that was, yeah.
It says reading, but
Close.
yeah.
Yeah.
Real
I've seen it
close.
here before. It's the only reason I'm bringing it up.
Dynasty, the Miranda, and the number 25.
Was the ship's name Dynasty?
No, it was not. It's not Duck Dynasty either. All right, let's talk about what we're excited about here. Just gonna do a quick